We're now going to take a look at the legs and how we can maximize leverage to be able to have the best chance of controlling a patient's legs. Legs are, once again, very strong and a lot more of a handful to try and control. But at the same time, we have a little bit more of advantage in the sense that there isn't usually the same kind of range of motion. When we're looking at shoulders, the shoulders are designed to have our arms basically out the side of our body. And so you can see how this arm can swing all the way down, all the way up towards my head. It can swing all the way out in front of me. And there's a little bit of distance behind me. When we're looking at the legs, the hip, we can usually just easily go out front. We can go out backwards, sideways to an extent, but we can't do the splits. And so the same way like I can take these arms here and up, can't do that. But the legs are very powerful. So when we're looking at levers, we're looking at, in the same way we have the shoulder, elbow, and wrist, we have the hip, knee, and ankle. Basically the exact same design. So we'll just look at it like that. CORY, the main way we'll just look at it is from someone who's laying down. So if we're looking at controlling a patient in a stretcher, bed, etc. One of the things that we need to be able to stop is a patient from being able to kick upwards. Now, the difficulty with a knee is that the knee bends upwards toward the forward-facing direction from the patient itself. So here, as I talked about, if I have, say, CORY's wrist pinned to the mat, bend your elbow, CORY. See how his elbow just kind of wings out to the side? It can't bend backwards through the mattress. And so I'm able to control a CORY. I'm only reaching over in this circumstance because of, I'm teaching to the camera. I would never recommend that, but it'd be here. But just so you can see, if I pin his wrist into the mattress, move that elbow around, he can't. The arm's weaker and the elbow bends in the wrong direction. But here, if I try to control the ankle and CORY wants to bend that knee up, I'm not able to actually control the leg very well here. So I do not recommend controlling the ankle very often, especially when the patient has the ability to bend their knee forward. So in this circumstance, I'd actually rather control the end of the lever here to the knee. So I'm just gonna go right above the kneecap. Once again, as always, depends on how your patient is. If your patient has surgery, 8 different surgeries on this knee, they're old, they're frail, we gotta be very careful about the knee and the kneecap and putting pressure there. So I don't recommend putting pressure directly on the kneecap. We're gonna go right above it. So we're not quite at the end of the lever. But here, my ability to control whether I'm locking my arm out and putting weight into it, which is something we'll talk about, or if I'm actually having to lay on the limbs to control in a very violent situation. If I go here now, CORY, lift your leg. Yeah. And here, I'm not driving all my force. Like I'm not going like this. That's pretty uncomfortable for your quad. I'm not leaning all my weight into it. I'm just going here. I'm having a connection established to my patient, and I'm making sure that I have my weight over it. So I'm not like this, because right now my arm will get access as a lever that if he brings his knee up, look how my arm just comes out away from my body. That's weak. I want it as a frame, a rigid structure that's able to just drive downwards, but I'm just light force here. So even both legs, try and bring either knee up, CORY, to your chest. Kick me. He can't really wiggle the legs around because now his heels could only curl downward into the mattress. That's one of the times that we're able to do that. Controlling the ankles, not gonna be very effective. So this would be a circumstance where if we had to control somebody from here, like I said, for whether it was just a very assaultive patient and we have to try and help out security as everything's just going to shit, or if we're trying to get the person changed into a hospital gown, we have to now look at how this has changed. Now the knees are gonna be very similar to the elbows when we had the patient in a supine position on their back. Now if CORY bends his heels up into the air, the knees would drive down into the floor and they're not gonna be able to move very much. So if I control here at the knees now, I'm gonna get heels into my arm, into my side, very uncomfortable. But now in the same way we controlled the wrist, if I control the ankles and I push them down, we wanna be careful not to hyperextend the ankle here where you can see there's a space underneath CORY's ankle. And if I push down like this, if he doesn't have the flexibility to put his ankle all the way down or rotate a little bit, it can be very uncomfortable. So I'm very light here, but I still have my weight over top centered ready set. If he tries to curl his ankles right now, yeah, bend your knees up, leg curl, he can't. Same if I leaned on the legs like this. I'm at the end of the levers. So curl your legs to your butt, CORY. Nothing. If I go here on mid calves, curl your legs now, CORY. Oh, I'm gonna get thrown. I'm going for a ride. going to the end of the levers is going to maximize the control that you have. Another way that we can use this for like smaller everyday things is, if you could have a seat here, please, Corey, is I'll just come back to the example of helping a patient put on their shoe. If Corey can't extend his leg out very far, can you extend your leg out for me, Corey? If I grab like here at the knee, that doesn't really do anything because his knee is already at like a 90-degree bend at the hip relative to his body. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need his leg to bend up further there. And that's also going to be very uncomfortable for the patient. If I grab mid-calf, it's a lot more work now. And now if he curls his leg down aggressively, I can't do anything to control it. I do not recommend trying to stop your patient from curling their leg. Just let it go if that's what they want to do, because it's such a large muscle. But depending on your size relative to your patient, you might not have any problem controlling it and just keeping it in place. Controlling right here at the back of the ankle, that Achilles, like if I bend Corey's foot here, see how the skin starts to wrinkle here? That's gonna be at the end of the lever, or even the heel. By me being here, extend your leg out as much as you can for me, please, Corey. Thank you. I grab at the end of the lever, and I help lift that leg a bit. Don't lift the leg so much you off balance your patient. Don't lift it so that you put a bunch of tension through their hamstring. It's always gonna be dependent on your patient's health and their range of motion limitations. So here, by me holding this now, Corey, curl your leg in. It's gonna be quite difficult for him to do so. I have a better chance of overwhelming the force that he can generate or having some time to just let go. If I wanted to, this will be an extreme example because I'm 6'5", but I could also put checks underneath like a frame or wedge, something like a prop to hold his leg up. So that could be a footstool. In this case, if he was higher up, I could even use my shin. But obviously, because my shin is so long, I lift his leg up in an uncomfortable fashion. But I'm at the end of the lever, and I have a frame, a solid support right here in place, that if he tries to curl his leg now, where's it gonna go? Absolutely nowhere. So if I had a stool or footrest or even pillows, using pillows, 1 pillow to 3 pillows, etc., you could lift a patient's leg up a little bit at the end of the lever just to hold it in place so that they're even less mobile. They're less likely to be able to generate force in any kind of meaningful direction that could harm you, to allow you to get the job done. Bring it here. So I'm not gonna try and lift mid-calf. That would be just inefficient. I'm gonna roll here at the foot. I could also, controlling at the top of the foot here is not very useful for control because we have the ankle and we have the knee. So if Corey shakes his leg around, it's pretty hard for me to control, but it keeps a barrier in between me and him. And so if I was to grab Corey like this and start lifting, and he just kicks upwards, he could still hit me. So obviously I'm gonna minimize how much I lean over. But if I control the top of the foot too, like this, if Corey tries to kick up at me, because I have the end of the lever here, I have a higher chance of being able to redirect that leg down or at least absorb the force, even if it's just my forearm, kick up into me, Corey. And I keep connected like this. So I don't, like if we have to block just like this, a dynamic strike, that's what we have to do. But by me holding him here, kicking me, Corey, it's very difficult for him to do so. I'm controlling upwards at the toes. I'm not trying to bend the toes in too much. That's something that we'll try and do within a sport context when we're grappling other skilled grapplers. But just controlling up here at the top of the foot to maximize that control. If I was blocking him down here at the shin and he kicks up right now, I don't have the ability to stop the movement that he's trying to complete. So legs are much harder to control. I don't recommend usually trying to control somebody's legs and stopping them from completely moving unless they're already in a prone face down position or a supine position on their back. But we can look at little ways that we can control the levers to stop somebody from being able to turn and minimizing the chance of us getting injured.